Hi everybody and welcome to another instalment of BIM4U Presents. My name's David Shepherd and I'm here to talk to you about something really special in PowerApps, and that is how we can apply the 19650 National Annex Container Naming Convention. Now, some of you know that at one point we would have had a naming convention which consists of the facets that you can see on the screen right now. These are the different fields that comprise the overall naming. But we know that that was updated and it's now in the format of project originator, functional breakdown, spatial breakdown, form, discipline, and number. So the challenge is, can we use a PowerApp in order to generate this naming as part of an upload into a SharePoint common data environment? People have lots of different questions about this, but let's look at the breakdown of that naming before we get into the detail of it. So what I've done is I've generated a main table which consists of the following columns, as you can see there. But what feeds into that is a set of subtables. These are lookup tables so that it allows the person who's generating the file name to be able to choose from a predefined set of values. So for instance, if we're thinking in terms of levels, we might have predefined values for those, which will obviously be applied to the spatial breakdown. At the same time, there might be different buildings, what we previously knew as volumes, and those would be part of the functional breakdown. So let's have a look at how that's built out conceptually. Essentially, what we're saying then is that here's an example of the project table. You can see a couple of projects in there already, and those will feed into the number for the project. The next thing you'll see is that there's a set of originators. There's Collaborative London Partnership, CLP, Hampshire Construction Services, HCS, and Shepherd Structural Design, SSD. Unimaginative, yes, but it gets the principle across of what we're trying to do. Same thing with the functional breakdown. You can see there that we've got these different codes for the functional breakdown. And then we've got a spatial breakdown again, which is the same way, feeding in from a lookup table into the main table. Same thing for form, as you can see there. Same thing for discipline, using the actual discipline codes which are in the National Annex. And then, of course, separate from that is number, which will be part of the main table. What we've got it doing is we want it to auto number and to update as we create and add new entries, new containers into the system. So that's really what we're trying to do here. Okay, so with those different fields that we've set up, what does that actually look like? Well, I'm just going to take you across into this area. This is the app itself, but I can come over here and I can talk a little bit about the different columns that we have. So, for instance, if we start from the first one, we can just scroll down a little bit here, and you can see that we've got the project code. As you can see, it's a lookup table. You can say the same thing with originator. Again, they're lookup tables. They're essentially reading information from elsewhere. You can see the same thing with the form code as well as the function code. So to look at those tables themselves, we just click on here and we can scroll down. And for example, we can look at the project table and the data that sits in there. And as you can see, there are a couple of projects which are already created. We can very easily add as a record another project with a number. We can give it a name and number in here and save it, and it becomes part of the system. Okay, I'm not going to go into too much detail with that. I don't think it's the most challenging part of setting this up. The key thing to understand is that once you have the table set up, then you can go into the 19650 container naming. And remember, this is a low-code app. There's no rocket science really in setting it up. It's very easy with a bit of understanding of how programming works and how the logic works to make this work for you. So all of the different fields are in there. And as you can see, if I go to the data tab, you can see how these different naming values have been applied. I can take one of these, for instance, and if I go to edit record, the easy bit is that if I want to, I can click on there and I can press enter to search for code, and you can see that I've got my project codes in there, so I can choose that one. If I want to change the originator, I can just press enter again, and you can see my different originators in here. I can scroll through those. I can also do an advanced lookup, and I see the entire table. So this is something that I'm always going to be able to do. In this case, as I said, I probably will simply choose CLP for that. Same thing with the function code. If I take that one out and I press enter here, you can see the different function codes which I put in. So it could be the school gymnasium that we're working on. Spatial codes, the same thing, all the way through. Example of one is discipline code. As I said, we're using the values which came through from the National Annex, and you can see that they're all in here. One of the things that I have done is set up the lookup view that allows us to type in a value and it searches through the data that's in there. So in this case, I'm just going to keep it set at A. The easiest way to do that, we just press enter here and choose A for architecture, as you can see. But an example of where we might want to do a search is for the uniclass code. I added that one in just to see, especially because we want to be 19650 compliant. But what I've done is to make sure that when I do the advanced lookup here, I'm able to search not just the uniclass codes that you see here, but I can search through the description. So if I type in Arch, as you can see there, it's searched through. So rather than me having to know the actual code, it says my architect's models, which is this is. I can choose that one, click on done, and it adds that one in there. Now, the clever bit of this is this final option here. Let's talk about that a little bit. So what we have is the main table fields, and we have a calculated field. So this is something we can do in our PowerApps, is that one of the fields can be a calculated field. I did struggle with this a bit because understanding the syntax for the concatenation that's needed to bring all of these together into the compliant container ID was quite a challenge. And essentially, this is the action that you can apply with a calculated field. So what it's going to do is take all of these values and bring them into one thing. And the end result is to have a name like this. So that's what's happened with the concatenated field. And of course, when we go to here, we can see it's been generated. Let me close this for a second. A good example is if I go to add record, and I'm not going to bother with I'm just going to press enter and say that it's the shopping center. Press enter again. The originator is construction services. Press enter again, it's the annex building. Press enter again, the spatial guide is the second floor. Press enter again, the form code. Let's say it's an elevation drawing. And then the discipline code, this time it's going to be, let's scroll through these. Given that it's on the second floor. So let's say it's just go up a bit. Let's say it's a public health engineering, as we can see there. The number is 03, and we haven't applied a file to it, but we know it's public health engineering, so we're going to look for PM code that's appropriate to that, do an advanced lookup, and let's see if we can find. So we've got public health system of record. Let's just see if we can put in. Oh, I put it in as building services. And there we go. So it's the building services that we're looking at. Like so. And in fact, because it's a building services model, let's actually go back to the form code and let's just press enter there, advanced lookup, see if there's something there that we want to apply. So I'm just going to say that this is a 3D model, for instance. I'm done. We have the ability to save this. Watch what happens when I do save. There we have it. That's our National Annex naming. It's gone in there, concatenated, and now I can simply go to my upload area and upload the file that I need into the system. It's as simple as this. And this shows that we have the capability of doing tremendous things with PowerApps. Remember, this is a great capability that simply worked on with a low-code application. And let's put it out there, bit of a throwdown. What does your current database, spreadsheet, whatever it is, what does it do? Does it do anything like this? If it does, hey, put it in the comments. Thanks again. This is BIM4U, PowerApps, and 19650 naming conventions. Thank you. Bye.